Immanuel Kant, one of the most influential philosophers of the 18th century, was born in 1724 in the Baltic city of Königsberg, which, at the time, was part of Prussia and is now known as Kaliningrad, a part of Russia. His family was modest. His father was a saddle maker, and although they didn't have much money, Kant's parents lived humbly, making do with what they had. Despite the limited financial resources, Kant's family was deeply religious, and this devotion was central to their ability to face life's difficulties. Kant was never particularly wealthy himself, but in his 50s, after years of teaching and writing, he became a professor and achieved a moderate level of prosperity. He never had the conventional religious outlook that many people of his time held. However, he couldn't help but recognize how deeply his parents' religious faith had shaped their ability to cope with the hardships of their lives. Religion provided them with a framework of meaning and ethical guidance, even if Kant himself became more skeptical of traditional religious beliefs as he matured. In terms of appearance, Kant was frail and not considered good-looking by his contemporaries. Yet, he was very sociable, often engaging in lively discussions with his colleagues. Some of them even criticized him for attending too many social events. When he eventually had the means to host gatherings of his own, Kant set up specific rules for conversation. He insisted that the first part of the evening be spent exchanging stories about recent events. Then, after an initial round of casual conversation, the group would shift to a more reflective discourse, where everyone tried to clarify and explore an important topic. Finally, Kant required that the evening end on a light, joyful note so that everyone left feeling uplifted. Immanuel Kant passed away in 1804, reaching the age of 80, having spent the majority of his life in Königsberg. He rarely ventured outside the city, making it his lifelong home. Kant was writing during a fascinating period in history, one that we now recognize as the Age of Enlightenment. In 1784, Kant published an essay titled What is Enlightenment?, in which he proposed that the defining feature of his era was the growing secularism in both intellectual and practical life. He welcomed the intellectual decline of traditional religious beliefs, especially Christianity, but was also alarmed by it. Kant was a pessimist regarding human nature. He believed that people were naturally inclined to corruption, and it was this awareness of human frailty that drove him to seek a new foundation for ethics and society. Kant's intellectual project became one of replacing religious authority with the authority of human reason. While he was skeptical of religious dogma and supernatural claims, Kant argued that the historical religions had nonetheless promoted something crucial: the moral need to encourage ethical behavior. This, for Kant, was the key to understanding the purpose of religion in society, even if the content of religious belief was often flawed. One of Kant's most famous ideas, and perhaps the core of his moral philosophy, is what he called the categorical imperative. This term, which might sound unfamiliar or complex at first appeared in Kant's major work Groundwork of the Metaphysics of Morals. The categorical imperative is a principle that dictates we should act only according to maxims that we can will to be universal laws, applicable to everyone. In simpler terms, Kant was proposing a test for the morality of an action. If you are unsure whether an action is right, imagine if everyone acted in the same way you are considering. Would society function well if everyone did it? Would you still be okay with it if the tables were turned and you were the one affected? For instance, it might seem harmless to take a few pads of paper from the office supply cabinet at work. However, if everyone did that, the company would quickly run out of supplies, leading to problems for everyone. Similarly, having an affair and keeping it secret might feel justifiable in the moment, but applying the categorical imperative reveals that it would lead to a morally problematic situation if everyone engaged in secretive relationships. The categorical imperative asks us to think beyond personal interests and consider the broader implications of our actions. Kant extended the principle of the categorical imperative to an even more profound idea. We should treat others always as ends in themselves, and never merely as means to an end. This was an alternative to the Christian commandment to love thy neighbor. For Kant, treating people as ends in themselves meant acknowledging their inherent dignity, the value of their independent lives, and the importance of fairness and justice in our interactions with them. Kant's views on morality were deeply influential, but his thinking didn't stop at personal ethics. He believed that his ideas could also inform political theory. Kant argued that the primary function of government is to ensure liberty and freedom for its citizens. But he felt that the common understanding of freedom was inadequate. For Kant, true freedom isn't the absence of restraint or government. Rather, it is the ability to act in accordance with rational moral laws. He argued that a free society is not one in which individuals simply pursue their personal desires, but one in which the rational will of all individuals is respected. In a free society, the government's role is to enforce laws that are rational and just, ensuring that everyone can live according to principles that respect the dignity of others. In his 1793 work, Critique of Judgment, Kant's ideas took an unexpected turn into aesthetics, or the study of beauty and art. While this may seem like a side note compared to his more famous work on ethics and politics, Kant believed that an appreciation of beauty was central to human life. Beauty, for Kant, was not merely a pleasurable experience but a reminder of our better selves. He was particularly fond of nature, often citing the beauty of roses, apple trees, and birds in his writings. For Kant, the beauty of nature was a non-demanding, universal experience that took us beyond our narrow personal concerns, reminding us of our common humanity. A beautiful flower or a graceful bird could be appreciated equally by a child, a farmer, or a philosopher. For Kant, the role of art was to embody important ethical ideas. Just as philosophy presents abstract moral principles, art can make these ideas vivid and memorable, ensuring that they remain present in our lives. He believed that art could be a powerful tool to reinforce the better, more rational parts of our nature, reminding us of our moral obligations and helping us resist the selfish urges that often distract us from doing what is right. Kant's work remains deeply relevant today. He sought to understand how the rational, ethical side of our nature could be strengthened, allowing it to reliably overcome our inherent weaknesses and selfish tendencies. While religions had historically attempted to cultivate moral goodness, Kant believed that they did so imperfectly. His goal was to create a secular, rational version of this project, one grounded in reason rather than faith. His work continues to shape debates in ethics, politics, and aesthetics. Kant's philosophy offers a framework for understanding how reason, morality, and beauty intersect in human life. His ideas encourage us to consider not just our immediate desires, but the broader implications of our actions. They challenge us to live up to our better, more rational selves, making Kant one of the most important thinkers in Western philosophy. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Immanuel Kant's life and ideas, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating philosophical insights.